Every time you answer a question from your team, you're making your problem worse. I know that sounds backwards. You're being helpful. You're being a good boss. You're keeping things moving. But you're actually programming them to keep coming back. Today, I'm going to show you how to flip that, how to turn every question into a coaching moment that makes your team more capable and less needed. I was listening to a business owner recently describe his day. His VA had messaged him 22 times, just small things, quick questions, little decisions, and he knew exactly what the problem was. He said, "I just haven't set up the business architecture properly. That's why this keeps happening." And he's right, but the architecture isn't just the systems and processes. It's how you respond when someone brings you a question. Because here's what happens when you just give the answer. You're fast, you're helpful, the things get done. But you've just taught them something. You've just taught them that the quickest path to a solution is to ask you. So they do it again and again and again, 22 times a day. Here's what I use instead. I call it 1-3-1. When someone comes to me with a question, I want three things. One question, three options, and one recommendation. What would they do? It doesn't have to exactly be three options. That's just a nice sounding framework. Sometimes it's two, sometimes one option is just do nothing. But the critical piece is the last one. What would you do? Because that forces them to think before they come to you. Let me show you how this plays out. Someone messages you, "Hey, I've got a problem with this client. What should I do?" The old you would just give them the answer. Do this. Done. New you says, "What's your 1-3-1?" At first, they'll be confused. So you explain it. "I want to know the question, your options, and what you'd recommend." They go away, they think. They come back with something like, "The client wants to change the timeline. Option A is we push back and hold the original date. Option B is we accommodate but charge extra. And option C is we just absorb it this time. I'd recommend option B." Now you've got something to work with. And here's where it gets interesting. Sometimes their recommendation isn't what you would have chosen. Your instinct is to say, "No, I would have done A." Don't. Instead ask, how did you arrive at that option? Because sometimes they thought of something that you didn't. Sometimes they've got context you're missing. Sometimes their answer is actually better. That's gold, and that's what you're building toward. And even when their answer isn't better, they see your thinking process when you explain why you would go with a different direction. Over time, they start thinking like you. They start making better recommendations. They start not needing to ask you at all. Here's another simple one that reduces noise immediately. I've got a team member who creates images for my content. He generates options and sends them to me to pick. But I don't want to be the bottleneck. I don't want him waiting around for my approval on something that doesn't really matter. So I told him, if I haven't responded within 2 hours, just post it. That's it. Simple rule. Because here's the thing, most decisions aren't that important. ChatGPT isn't going to generate something unsafe. The worst case is the image is slightly less than perfect. That's fine. The post goes out, the content keeps flowing, and I'm not the choke point. You can apply this to loads of things in your business. If I haven't responded by X time, do the default thing. It programs your team to keep moving without you, and it forces you to identify which decisions actually need your input and which ones don't. There's a fantasy I hear all the time. I'll hire someone to build all my SOPs. They'll document everything. Then they'll leave and everyone will just follow those processes. I don't believe that. I've never seen it work. What you end up with is a graveyard of Google Docs that nobody looks at. Here's what actually matters. Process ownership. Every key process in your business needs one name against it. One person who owns it. Not just executes it, owns it. That owner is responsible for three things: documenting it, maintaining it, and training others to run it. The ownership is more important than the document because documents go stale, but an owner keeps it alive. And here's how this protects you when someone leaves. If you've trained one person properly on a process, they can train the next person. They can eventually hand ownership to someone else and they take on new responsibilities. You build layers, not just documents. Here's a quick exercise. Get your operations person to list out every key process in your business, then put one name against each of those. Where there's no name, you've found a problem. Where there's your name, you've found a bottleneck. I want to tell you about a client I work with, an agency owner. I asked him about his vision for the business, and he described it beautifully. Premium service, super high touch, white glove, just a few boutique clients paying top dollar. It sounded great. Then I asked his team the same question. They said the vision was to maximize throughput, get as many clients as possible, and service them as quickly as possible. That was the complete opposite. Same business, two completely different pictures of what they were building. And it happened because he'd never clearly articulated his vision to the team. He had it in his head, and he assumed that they knew, but he never actually wrote it down and shared it. So they made up their own version. And this happens all the time, and it's why your team sometimes makes decisions that frustrate you. They're not wrong, they're just building towards a different destination that you are. The fix is simple, but most people skip it. Write down what your business looks like in 1 year and 2 years. What are you doing day to day? How do you interact with the team? What do your clients say about you? How does it feel? Paint the picture, put it in a document, and share it with your team. Now they know what they're building towards, and they can help you get there instead of accidentally building something else. I like to put my values in there too, and I use that as a filter when I'm hiring. First conversation, I tell them to read my vision document, and then I ask them what resonated with you and why. It attracts the right people, and it repels the wrong ones, and it aligns everyone who joins. If your team keeps coming to you with questions, if your processes only exist in your head, if you've never written down what you're actually building toward, you've got some quick wins available. I've got a free operations assessment that shows you where your bottlenecks are. The link's in the description. It takes about 5 minutes. Just clarity on what needs fixing first. See you in the next one.